Yep, that's right, folks. Another episode of Storyalysis, and I'm Chris.
I'm Pierre.
Freedom.
Freedom.
Are we finally free this episode, Pierre? Is this when it happens?
Christian, this is when it happens. This is when it happens exactly.
Fortunately, Pierre, you're lying to the people. This is not when it happens, but it is an episode where we get a good chunk of backstory. So we pick up right where we left off in the previous episode, and we're having a confrontation with Gardar, who was a runaway slave. He notices Arnheid, which we found out is his wife. And because of that, he deduces that he must be on Ketil's farm, and then he beckons her to run away with him.
Yep.
He says the three of them, aka Gardar, Arnheid, and Hajalti.
Yeah.
That's probably not how you say his name, but I'm just going to run with that for now. Hajalti. That they can finally return home. And then Snake, he rushes towards them and he interrupts their little meeting. He threatens to kill Gardar if she joins him, if Arnheid joins him. And then Snake, he slashes the head of the horse that Gardar was riding. Gardar stands up, and the way they drew his eyes peeking out from under his bangs, it sends rivers down my spine, man. He exuded some of the nastiest aura that we've ever seen in the show. I think so.
Yeah. That's
Some
an
pretty
N plus friend.
nasty. Yeah, some pretty nasty glares we get, and that was among the nastiest. And Einar, he was willing to step up and fight. He was willing to step up and fight Snake, Badger, Fox, and risk his freedom for the sake of his affection, love, concern, whatever you'd call it, towards Arnheid. Who, by the way, now that he knows she has a husband, he's still willing to do all that, which
like that.
That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
because I think that Einar was being especially reckless this episode. I mean, because the thing is, before he even knows the backstory behind Gardar and Arnheid, he's willing to just risk it all for them. Is it a combination of his wholesome naivete, him not knowing how to deal with the emotions that come with the first love, his potential lack of awareness at just how good his overall situation is? I don't know, but I definitely gave him a few side eyes during this episode. A few side eyes. But I believe that he's just overwhelmed by his emotions and the sudden situation. So that's how I'm justifying his recklessness in the episode. I heard you say you liked that he's doing this.
Yeah.
Why do you like it?
No, I liked that it was different. For someone whose character, not really, if I think about it. Because what bothered Einar a lot during these past few episodes, knowing that he can taste his freedom, Thorfinn and him, but not being able to set Arnheid's freedom in motion for her. So, although this is a girl that we are all aware that he has a crush on, the fact that this is her chance of becoming a free woman again, he puts that ahead of losing her entirely as a love interest because she's with her husband, as a friend because she will run away. But it's just that surpasses his feelings for her. Just to show you how much he's grown to love her, that he will fight for her to gain her freedom with her husband, even if it's not with him, just so she could be free. I thought that was beautiful. Like, that's again subjective shit, but I was like, wow, that's how I took it. Yeah.
But do you also think it's fair that he's willing to put Arnheid's freedom above Thorfinn's feelings about the situation as well? This is more so later on when they're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Einar is like kind of pressuring Thorfinn to join him. Do you
No,
think
later on
that's
that's
fair?
true. No, that's not fair at all. If it's something that you do by yourself, yeah. Like, he was picking up that axe to go by himself. Yes, but later to be like, let me borrow your strength, come with me. It's like, nah, bro. So we're not
Yeah.
on some ride or die shit. This is not Queen and Slim. Like, nah. It's just, I think that
Shit.
was fair, but that's later on. But yeah, but yeah, in that
Mm.
moment, I was like that because it's very rare, guys. Right? Unfortunately, like we have egos. That's unfortunate. Yeah, and some of us manage it very well. Others don't. Like there's a scene in C where Baba Vosa just learned that Jeremy Morel is coming, and he also knows Jeremy Morel is the father of Aniwa and Kofun. So Paris, like, hold him, stop him, and say, "Oh, be the man that I know you can be, and get over that." Do you know? Do you remember that scene, Christian, or do you know what I'm talking about? As in, it's like, listen, man. I know you're just a stepdad. I know the kids with a father are coming, but like, I need you to chill for a second and get over that hurdle, like your ego trip. As in, like, for him as a guy to not be like, what? This guy's coming from my girl? Like, yeah, kill him. Yes, Snake. But he's like, wait, if this girl can be free, this is better. And but that's yeah. At the moment, I like that. But later, I was like, nah, fuck that, bro. The fuck, I'm like, bro, you doing this shit by yourself? Like, yeah, you can go out there.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Yeah, like as the season progresses, like I mean, you saw even from the first episode, the dude, his father died. He's trying to fill in the shoes to be a protector for his family. Couldn't do it. Like you saw, like you mentioned, they're not able to break his spirit, like his character as a person. He refuses to let others walk over him, like to like taint his like integrity as a person to himself. Like, he holds himself in a regard, and he has a good heart. It's like helping Thorfinn get up from that dream. Like I told you, like 3, 4, 5 episodes ago, I was like, I would have just fucking let him scream in his nightmare because I hated him at that point. Because Eniar hated him at that point to just find out you used to side with people that robbed me of my life. But yeah, crazy shit.
Yeah, and admittedly, we don't know the full extent of the relationship between the trio of Arnheid, uh, Einar, and Thorfinn because they've spent 3 years together, more or
Mm-hmm.
less. Einar
Yeah,
was saying that every morning, or Arnheid was saying that she looked forward to every morning that she would get to talk to to Einar. So maybe at
yeah,
some point, Thorfinn also revealed his past and his like struggles and trauma to Arnheid. Which I mean, maybe not though, because this episode is the first time that Arnheid is telling them anything about her backstory. So yeah,
right.
maybe at this point it's just been surface level, shallow conversations between the three of them. We don't really know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yep, Thorfinn. As Einar is getting ready to fight, Thorfinn talks some much needed sense into him and even questions his resolve to kill a single man, let alone three.
Mm, mm.
And three of the baddest men on that farm, mind you.
Just one, just one.
Which is it just one?
uh, no, as in like Badger and Fox is all talk, but Snake,
Uh,
that's the real deal. But
they may
regardless,
be they may be all talk, but I don't think anyone on else on the farm is. I feel like Badger and Fox are Snake's right hand men,
mm-hmm.
right?
I was gonna say that. Yeah, they're like second in command. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know what? I take that back. Let's
Yeah,
omit that. Yeah, they're. If Snake did report directly to him, like yeah, there's crazy shit. Yeah, man, and the
uh,
words too. Like, because the Thorfinn we've been introduced to has been someone that's on the path to recovery, self recovery, healing. So therefore, to hit him with such a cold truth, like, not, hey, do you really think you can make it out of here alive? Like, nah, let me say something that's deeper. Do you really think you have it in you to kill one of these guys? It's like, bro, you're not built for that. Put that fucking axe down. Like, I didn't think he was gonna say that, but I'm like, damn, he told him that. And of course, Ainer just reality, bro. Like, shit, you're right. Like, I've never killed. Like, that's insane, man. Which, if
yeah,
takes you
that's
back to 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes ago, or 2, 3, like you've covered this one. What are we selling? Death. Death is a. What did he word it as? Death is a. It's a
commodity.
product. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the one man who can speak on this is Thorfinn. So yeah, because he's done a lot of killing in his time. So
Mm-hmm.
he knows exactly what it means to kill a single person and exactly what it means to kill dozens of people, more than one person. So yeah, and so Einar calms down, and then Snake overhears Thorfinn telling Einar this, and benevolently, without disapproval in his voice, he says that they made the right call in doing that.
Right.
Now, under normal circumstances, a slave would not get away with providing such clear proof of rebellion, or clear intention of rebellion, which is further showing just how good of a situation these guys have it.
Right. Bro, just the
That,
thought. Just what,
yeah, just the
you're
thought.
thinking about escaping? You're thinking about killing me, aren't you? Sorry, I didn't say it. You're thinking about it. You're lynched.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah. If a slave gave like a glare to the master,
right.
that's
What is that? What is that, Claire?
that's cause for
There's
a
some,
whipping.
there's something in my eye,
Yeah,
sir. No, it's not.
yeah, yeah.
That is
It's
true.
crazy.
That is true. The multitasking skill too, Christian. My boy is like Askeladd did that so well, like while fighting and thinking of something else. Because you have to, because if you think about it, right, when you're in tune into something, everything else blocks out. For his senses to still be looking at Gardar and to be fully listening to a whole conversation that just went down and the whole conclusion of the conversation to him give his verdict of that conversation. I was like, bro,
Hmm.
like you're everywhere, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
Askeladd used to do that a lot actually. That's it's insane.
it's the mark of a refined warrior, a refined
Mm-hmm.
fighter. They
Mm-hmm.
can channel these different parts of their brains at the same time. Very impressive. Very impressive. He's an impressive man, Pierre, and he shows even more how impressive he is when he starts fighting Gardar.
Bro.
And oh boy, that was some sexy ass animation. That got me hot and bothered. I'm not gonna lie. That was a treat for the eyes. And they were able, through the animation, they were able to very elegantly convey how Gardar slashes with clear skill, but not enough skill to outclass Snake. Because Snake dodges, he weaves all of Gardar's attacks, and then he uses the back of his sword. He targets a wound that Gardar has, which brings Gardar to his knees, and then Snake gives him one more good whap just to make Gardar unconscious. And then Gardar, he's restrained and dragged away. All the while, he's screaming Arnheid's name while she turns her back and covers her ears because she's trying to internally distance herself from the situation. And then immediately after the fight, Snake, again, benevolently disregarded Einar's intention to rebel. And even though he had like a slight diss at the position Einar was in, like he's a slave, even if you want to say something, whatever you want to say doesn't matter, he still lended an ear to Einar when Einar asked for Gardar to be forgiven because he responded to Einar. So clearly he's
Yeah,
listening, even though he said, whatever you say will not be listened to.
that's true.
So Einar really, you know, sometimes I feel like he needs to count his blessings, bro, because he's pushing it with
Yeah, yeah.
in
He
these scenarios.
like I don't know if he suffers from something like the psychosis like is insane. This man doesn't have a clear picture of the reality that is his current life. like, like dude still thinks this is some democratic land. Like
Mm.
he has a voice or something. Like bro, you're a slave, bro.
Yeah,
this
right.
is this is like
Yeah. Thorfinn gets it though. He stayed quiet.
yeah. No, do you think it's not do you think you know that is the reason. Thorfinn is only like that because of what he's going through internally. Old Thorfinn, if he didn't go through all the trauma, would have been a rebellious slave. Because Thorfinn doesn't like the idea of being a slave. He
Mm-hmm.
vowed to never be one like several times in seasons one, I think. Like it was like I'll never be a slave or some shit like that. That was a rebellious
Mm,
kid, even before the his dad's loss. I don't know if you remember him. Like he almost killed some kid one time fighting when Thor held the sword, the cutting edge of the sword while his arm was bleeding, trying to tell him you don't have any enemies. Like this kid has always been a freaking an outlaw.
mm,
Yeah, Ketil bought him at the right time of his life. like he's
yeah,
a perfect submissive, obedient just version of
very
himself.
strong too. Yeah,
Yeah.
still a very good worker, but internally, yeah, he's very obedient at this
Dude,
point.
do you think Gardar? First of all, do you think the fight? Well, not do you think the fight? I don't think was even. Like homeboy, I have not eaten for like 3 days. He's wounded. Like, do you think this would have been a better duel? Do you think this would have been a harder duel for Snake if Gardar was at 100%, same as him?
Yeah, I think so. Because at some points, Snake was sweating. Like he was
Yeah,
kind of taken aback at how strong this guy was.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it would have been tough for
I
sure.
didn't. I didn't like the fact that he wasn't. I saw Snake as someone that knows how to fight but won't brag about it. Like his silence is what drew me to his character. Because when he did fight, once he draw out a sword, you're like, oh, this man is skilled, but he doesn't speak. So I really didn't like the fact that he saw that this man's injured, yet was still like belittling the guy to Badger or Fox. Oh, this will take me only 5 seconds. You couldn't beat this guy. I'm just warming up. I'm like, I didn't think he was like that. Like, I thought he would see the situation, know that this is unfair. No, no, not unfair. Know that this man is not 100%. Beat him and just go along with his life. Just know, like, because he analyzed the guy accurately. An episode ago, there's a bounty on his head. Interesting. Only go in groups of 5. If he's able to get the master and do this man got to be skilled. Let's be cautious. So I thought there would have been a level of like verbal respect, but he was just like,
Mm.
bro, this will be done quick. I'm just warming up. All right, got him. We're done. It's just like I didn't like that. I didn't think it matched his personality. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, I see where you're coming from, but I think it's important to see how he fights in like another battle to really land on a verdict for how he interacts in a fight. Because I've seen characters in certain stories that kind of once they get in a zone, they become complete badasses that sort of overshadow everything that happened before they were in the zone. So, for example, with Snake, the moment he noticed that Gardar had a wound, his he dodged one of his sword slashes, and they drew his face like they darkened his eyes.
yeah.
Usually, when I see them do that for characters in animation, it's like that character is going into a state where they are completely in the zone. So yeah, I get how you have like this certain expectation of how Snake should be in a fight, but who knows? Maybe he can still deliver on that expectation, just in a different circumstance, maybe.
No, you're right. Also, to play devil's advocate with my own freaking assessment, he was in front of his men, so he had to make a point to be like, "Hey, this will be done quick." They even started doubting, like, "Boss, are you sure you can take him?" Like, shut up. Like, I'll do this. It's just like, yeah. So that way, I can understand. I can understand that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So Arnheid, after the fight, she is left in shambles, and then we move forward to where Einar, Thorfinn, and Arnheid are sitting in the old master's kitchen, and Einar, he talks about sneaking into the fort and rescuing Gardar again without any knowledge of the context that's surrounding this mysterious man. Because I mean, he doesn't
Yep.
even know if Gardar was an abuser. He doesn't know if Gardar is genuinely just crazy. He doesn't know the nuances between the relationship between him and Arnheid. He's just really putting the cart before the horse here. He's doing things in not the best order.
It's
So,
true.
but yeah, like I said before, I think he's just personally, I think he's just still overwhelmed by the emotions and the situation, and then like you said, by that strong desire to ensure Arnheid has her freedom. So, but Arnheid, she stops his hasty momentum, and then she says that it's better to just sit still and wait for the storm to pass because I don't
Bro.
want you to get caught up in the storm. And yeah, did that strike a chord with you in any particular way?
I oh, until she said that, I'm like, that's a beautiful like metaphor for what's going on. I'm like, I completely like that. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Okay, but it's not until the episode unravels, well, gets deeper in, and they keep using that storm metaphor, and I'm just like, oh. That's why I texted you. I was like, "Bro, I was holding back tears." We're gonna get to that, but
Oh,
like,
this is okay.
ugh,
Mm.
crazy shit, Christian, crazy shit.
Yeah, and Einar, he starts asking the right questions. First and foremost, if Arnheid was in love with Gardar, which surely that was a punch in the gut for him to even voice that out loud, because as we
Right,
know, he's in love with Arnheid.
right.
And we find out that even though the marriage between Arnheid and Gardar was arranged, yes, Arnheid was indeed in love with Gardar. Her words. She's saying she was in love with Gardar.
Um,
And
I think. She,
mhm.
well, I think she said she loved him. Did she say she was in love with him? Because I remember he said, "Did you love him?" And she said yes. I mean, that might be the same thing for some
um,
people. It's just it's like, yeah, it's like it's
yeah, yeah,
honestly, dude, little details irrelevant. But yeah, that's true. Homegirl
no,
said,
that's
"Yeah,
fair.
that was Bay." She said that was Bay, Christian. That was Bay. All right, take us to the backstory in Sweden, Christian. Take us.
Yeah. Yeah, and before we get there, this is where Einar insists on fighting Snake with his men, and where he tries to pressure Thorfinn into going along with him, which again would be a huge threat to the freedom of Thorfinn and Einar. Uh, and he does so right in front of the old master too, which is a bit disrespectful, even though they assume that he's gone senile. Just this old man has been nothing but kind to you. So to speak in his home about this is yeah, yeah, Einar, he was very, very overwhelmed with emotions this episode.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was late at night. They were they were under the assumption that he probably was asleep. But still, no. These slaves just got like carte blanche to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
I've never seen freaking free slaved. These slaves are
free
borderline free.
slave. Yeah, right. They've been getting good meals in the master's house.
Like,
They're even allowed to sit in the chairs. Just being allowed to
bro,
sit in the chairs, like I feel like if you were a slave, they could easily just make you stand the whole time and say, "Oh, we don't want you to dirty our chairs."
yeah,
They're able to just chill and relax. A fire
they're not,
when there's a
bro.
storm raging outside. Like,
They're not even like if you what do you do when you think slave, right? Like, unfortunately, like you think, well, not you think, I think working on a fucking plantation, getting whipped for moving too slow,
yeah,
like
that's what I think of too.
just these guys are basically contractors. Like, hey, here's this land. Take your time and work on this land, and once it becomes fruitful, it becomes profitable, wheat start growing, you can buy back your freedom, dude. That's it's like what? I mean, of course, you have you have the little curveball, the retainers that are fucking terrible to you that they can give food to give to you that they can eat it. Yeah, I guess there are aspects of the slavery falls within under the slavery conditions, but for the most part, yo, these dudes are chilling. It's just,
Yeah, it's far from from the worst situation. That's for sure.
right. Yeah, like look at Arnheid's husband, Gardar. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
Even Snake was like, "Oh, this guy was bad with slaves." I'm not surprised. Like, do you see how this
Mm-hmm.
dude was shackled in his neck, his arm? Like,
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in Spartacus, literally. Yeah, but too many show references, and you can't even relate, so I can't. I need to stop that. But yeah, but since I said it, I gotta finish it. And Spartacus, like, it was like, yeah, like the guy who on The Last of Us, the show host, co-host guys, the guy that's like a cordyceps is what I would need to be afraid of. No, fungi. Fungi is what we need to be afraid of, not bacteria. If you're watching this on YouTube, episode 1, it's gonna be up there anyway as the first scene. But yeah, yeah, the guy and Spartacus, right, from The Last of Us. He like his slaves, like they fought each other. They were gladiators, but there was one guy that owned the love interest of one of the main characters that they change her in season 3. And you don't know any of the people I'm talking about. She plays Maze and Lucifer. Her character got changed. Anyway, she was bought by some slave owner, and he freaking like would like put freaking objects like in her. Dude, some crazy shit. I can't. Anyway, people watch Spartacus, like they know exactly what I'm talking about. As in, my whole to bring this back is just that some masters are chill and some others are just cynical, just sadistic and evil.
Mm. Well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, and then Arnheid, she begins to tell us a little bit about herself. So Arnheid's story,
Yeah.
it revolves around iron. It all begins with the struggle for iron, a material that they used to make pots and sickle blades in her home country of Sweden. So Arnheid, Gardar, and their 1-year-old son lived in a small village there,
Yeah.
and this village got wrapped up in a fight over a newly discovered forest, or not newly discovered forest, but fight over newly discovered iron resources. When, yeah, so the village got wrapped up in this when Gardar's friend asked him for manpower in joining the conflict over who was going to be in control over this group of resources.
Right.
And joining the fight would provide iron for Gardar's village. So all the men agreed to join the fight. Arnheid and the other women of the village objected, believing they'd all be fine without iron. And she also believed that the gender hierarchy that existed prevented their opinions from having any sway with the men.
Yeah.
And then Gardar went on to further explain that the reason they're joining the conflict is not only to acquire iron for the village,
Right.
um, but they're also joining the conflict because a small loss of iron now will cause a big loss in the balance of power for the area that they live in the future. Specifically, this balance would be tipped in the favor of a man called, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's YNGVE, Yingiv. So it would be tipped in this man's favor. And not only that, though, if they did win, then their village would become wealthy as a result of acquiring this treasure trove of
Right.
resources. And so their participation in the battle is motivated by an investment in the future, as opposed to being motivated by an immediate need for resources. So the men, while the women and children stayed behind to, so the men went off to battle while the women and
Yeah.
children stayed behind to watch their homes. And then a few weeks passed, and ships started arriving at the village. But it wasn't the men returning from battle, it was Vikings. So the village where the women and children were and the elderly, they were attacked. Their homes were burned. The elderly were killed. The women were kidnapped. And children, well, specifically Hijalti, Arnheid and Gardar's child, they show us him being stolen by the Vikings. And an image of a child who's suddenly thrust into the world of Vikings hit Thorfinn especially hard. We can see that by how he reacted to this information, because
Yeah.
it's very similar to his situation with Askeladd, of course. So it seems that Arnheid's first time meeting Gardar, after that whole thing where the men in her village went off to battle for that resource of iron, or for the resources of iron, the first time she's meeting up with him again was here at Ketil's farm, the scene that we just saw.
Right.
And now he's a man who's taken some of the hardest blows that life can give a person. And she calls him the storm that Arnheid doesn't want Einar to become wrapped up in. Which, of course, this is the storm that she was just talking about before she gave the backstory. So, Arnheid, she still harbors a grudge towards Gardar and the men for their decision to leave the village undefended, which caused her to specifically say, "This time I must protect my child from the men's storm." So because
Bro.
she used the word men's, that tells me she still has a grudge towards that whole situation and how it went down.
Yeah. She's a mom. She was a mom. Yeah. I mean, bro.
And she is a mom. Or yeah, she's soon to be another mom.
Hey, real quick. How did you know they were Vikings?
The ship, the way that the ship was designed, it was a very Viking ship. It has like that U shape. I don't know what that the ship is called though, but I know that that's what Vikings ride in.
Okay.
Gondola? Is it a gondola? That might be a gondola.
I don't know
I'm
what
not
that
sure.
is. Okay.
Yeah, that might be the name of the ship.
Because yeah, she mentioned, she was like, while the men went, we thought it was them, but it wasn't them. It was the other. Like, she didn't give them names, but she said, from how she told the story, I thought it was the other guys they were supposed to fight that actually went behind. Like they knew the men weren't there. Like she said, like how would people know the men weren't there? That means people that had information on the men. That's what I thought. But that's a But regardless, it's a tragic story, man. Shit, they took her baby. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, and I was just assuming it was the Vikings. It could be someone else, but I don't know. Vikings are like in this show especially, they're like the number one candidate for any group of people that just suddenly raid a village and like burn down houses and kill
Right.
people and like steal children.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's true.
So
Selling women into slavery. That is true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, when Arnheid says, "This time I must protect my child from the men's storm," she's talking in the present tense. And Einar catches on to that, and he's like, "Your child?" Question mark. And then Arnheid reveals dot 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 that she's pregnant with Ketil's child. See, man, back when Ketil said to Arnheid, "You're the only one who I can tell everything. Stay with me, because without you, my world is full of darkness."
Yeah.
I knew there was a deep sexual relation there. Like that was something a man like him would say after he had his bonding chemicals released, the bonding chemicals that are released after sex. And then he strongly associated those chemicals to this woman, Arnheid, who he released it with. And
This is the what is this great? This is the uh post nut blur.
post nut clarity.
No, clarity is like clear. Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to do this. You're saying after that it made him more infatuated.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And
Post
this
nut
man
spell.
Ketil, yeah. So, and he raw dogged it, and he didn't pull out. So it felt better than.
What is
It felt
going
better
on?
than.
Question, there are children. My parents are listening.
Oh no.
Honestly, man, yeah, literally, yeah. This. Like, forget about that latex, bro. Because like we need to wear that latex because you don't want that latex. That I think I'm latex. Oh, that's the man
What?
himself. That's Wheezy F baby. That's Tunchi. That's Lil Wayne. Yeah, that's in the remix with Kanye. I think. Yeah, I think that's Lollipop's remix with Kanye. Yeah,
One of
yeah.
these
You
days,
should
man,
wear
you
that
gotta.
latex.
One of these
Crazy,
days, you gotta come up with your own rhyme that fits these
dude.
scenarios, bro. Because you have the ingredients clearly swimming around in that head.
Crazy
We
shit,
need to
man. I'm
hear
trying my
some Pierre
hardest.
originals.
Some pure originals. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's no. When artists do that, that's not a tangent. See, now I'm starting to stop myself in like the genesis of my tangents to be like, all right, let's just cut it out. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. I'm just like that's not a tangent. We don't have time for that shit. But yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. What a terrible story. Yeah, and this is why sometimes it's better to just sit back and just let the storm pass and don't do anything.
mm, mm, and then poetically, an actual storm starts to brew after, like, off the heels of this conversation. And yeah, so then
Yeah.
we see a little bit of time passes, and then Arnheid, she's alone with the master, and she's hunched over a stove, and she has a flash. This memory flashes in her mind of her child writhing in discomfort and fear, and we see her face become overcome with this intensity for a moment. We don't know if it's like a
Yes.
rage or a sadness, but
Yes.
we know it's intense. And this intensity moves her body forward to go meet with Gardar. And then the old man stops her, the old master, and he speaks of a time when he too had to wait for a storm to pass, or rather, as he
Mm,
called it, a time when he hid and trembled while it passed.
mm.
And then we get a little more backstory on the old master and also Ketil. And he goes on to say that 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, his son Ketil and a girl from their village was in love, but then a powerful man named Eb
Yep.
fell in love with this woman as well, and then went after her. So Ketil was prepared to fight for her, but the old master knew that their village was weak, and they were also afraid of Eb, and he knew that they'd be wiped out if they went to battle. So the old master, he submitted, and he even offered up the woman that Ketil was in love with, which I assume is like, I guess, spoils of victory in the eyes of this Eb guy. And
Um.
then
hmm.
oh yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. Okay, this is supposed to be quick. I didn't understand that because that's not his. Like your son is in love with some girl. I get it. Like you offer her to some guy. That doesn't make any sense. Like a slave, you can offer just to show you. Like there's a deeper theme for this. This is freedom, right? But there's an
Hmm.
underlining theme in this episode of how women were just like now. Unfortunately, we're pushing for like inequality, like to no longer be like a second class citizen. But just to show you, back then it was just like that gender just didn't have any say. Like, bro, I like your son. You offering me to some dude. It's just I'm not yours, bro. I'm just your son's girlfriend. Like I'm not your slave, I'm not your
Hmm.
daughter. But just that's insane. But back then that's how it was. So it's crazy shit. But yeah.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality for women in that era.
Right?
They it's just yeah, it is most definitely rough. And you're right, there is a theme that I didn't catch on to until you brought it up, but that is a theme running throughout this episode. And then, I mean, towards even at the end, we see Arnheid sort of like go against the well, I don't know, maybe it's too early for me to say that like she's challenging the powerlessness that she feels as a woman, and she is going into she's going to meet with Gardar with the intention of doing something a lot more bold and brash that maybe a woman wouldn't typically do. But I don't know. That might be too preemptive of me to say that. Um,
Mm. What do you think she's
but
going there to do?
uh, I mean, I don't think she. I don't really think she could do much, right? Like because obviously she can't fight. So yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. Is she gonna? I don't think she's gonna go to Einar and ask for his support. But
Yeah,
there
I
are ways that like a woman could fight in this scenario. Like she could poison somebody, right? That she could fight using very sneaky tactics. I don't know. I have no idea.
I
Do
think
you have any thoughts?
I think she's going there just for closure, man. Like to tend to his wounds and to thank him for their lives. And there's probably going to be some guilt in there because if she wasn't captured, he wouldn't have gone after. They didn't say how he got into slavery. Well, she hinted he's here because he's probably looking for me, and then the hardship he's gone through while being a slave changed the man that he used to be, and to show you a completely different happy man when he was back there. So I think there will be some guilt on her end from that, but I think she's going there for closure, tend to his wound, and to
Mm,
literally let him know, I'm grateful that this was an arranged marriage. You never mistreated me. You were good to me and my son. And I think, yeah, I think the son was already there. Was the son already there, or is he the dad? I don't think he's the dad. It's like he took me and my son. I think is what she said. I don't remember. I'll go back and recheck that. But yeah, it's although he called the son father,
mm,
I'm pretty sure. But if I'm not, it's yeah, if I'm not, then I'm not. But yeah, so he was a good husband. But I think she really is focusing on present and future, which is raising the son that she is currently carrying for Ketil. I don't know. I
mm.
think she's a good woman, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still gonna be, still gonna keep my eye on her because we don't know. Just like how I did with Kettle, you
Yeah,
know, until he proved himself clear of suspicion, still suspicious of him. But
bro.
yeah, I
Mm.
like to believe that she's a good person. I hope.
Honestly, man, characters about to be tested because Kettle's coming back knowing Canute is coming. Kettle might give up all these motherfuckers. Like Canute, take them, don't take me.
Yeah,
You know, you never know.
yeah,
Hey, you want a
yeah.
warrior snake? My son, he coached my son. Take him. It's just,
That
bro,
would be crazy if
right?
he like buckles under the pressure because he's just a
Yeah,
very timid man.
he already is. Yeah, because that's why he does everything he can to avoid having to be in there. Did you see how he was freaking out when he heard the attack was to kill him? Like, what? The attack was to imprison him? Like, oh my goodness, what could have I done? Like, I'm here to
Hmm.
strengthen the bonds. I'm here to strengthen the partnership. Just, like,
Hmm.
no. Like, how devastated he was when he heard Harold died. What? Harold died? Okay, you need to get me a meeting with the new prince, with the new king. Like, homeboy want to avoid confrontation at all costs. I don't think he's
Yeah.
gonna give up Arnheid though. So I'm like, yeah, that one's staying. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I've lost a girl once. I'm not doing it again. It's literally from Sverkel's backstory. Crazy shit.
Mm. Yeah, and to quickly wrap up the backstory with the old man. So the woman that Kettle was in love with on the day of her wedding with this Ebbs guy, Ebbs was killed
Mm,
by another man who envied his wealth, and then he burned the area that the wedding was in. The bride was caught in the crossfire somehow, and she was killed as well.
mm.
She was killed as well, sending Kettle to despair. And then the old man concludes his story by saying, even if you wait out the storm, it leaves scars behind.
Scars.
And
Mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
yeah, so this, real quick, this is just how I took him saying this. Like, I took it as him saying that, or him telling her to choose the scars you can live with the most because they're going to happen whether you wait out the storm or not. And then at that, Arnheid turns her back and then leaves with the determination to do something, which I assume is her response, which is her saying that uh, I'm not going to wait out the storm because I think the scar that will be left behind if I do will be much greater than the scar that will be left behind if I don't.
Yes,
And
Christian.
that's how I took it. How'd you take it?
The same exact way.
Mm.
Great
No?
minds. Well, semi great minds. Above mediocre
Disagree?
minds.
Oh.
No, I'm talking about our minds. I said great minds, but I'm like, we're
Ah.
not great. We're not really great. Like that's an
Yeah, no, especially in the face of Vinland Saga. And
right. Yeah,
no.
that's why I said above mediocre. Slightly average minds. um, there's something they did very well in this episode. They for an anime, again, I'm not as familiar with anime like you are, although I've seen five. You've seen like a plethora, so therefore
I'm
it's
still shocked that you've only seen
yeah.
5. That's weird. That's very weird to me. I feel like you've seen more. Uh,
It does feel like it. It's just the five you recommended tend to be very long, Christian. They've kept me occupied.
well,
But
I mean, not that long.
yeah, Christian, Hunter x Hunter was like freaking. I felt like I was serving life. A good
Okay, that
term though. A
was
good
that
life
was a good
sentence. I
amount.
liked it.
But
Yeah.
Promise Neverland. That's not that
Season
long.
one.
Yeah, it's not that long. It's 12
Uh,
episodes.
I've never seen a show derail. I know you're gonna tell me Game of Thrones, even
I
though you
mean,
didn't finish it, just from word of mouth. I know, but it is what it is. But yeah, Promise Neverland. I've never seen a show derailed so much from season one. Like wow, but it is what it is. ReZero, bro. When is the next ReZero coming out, man? Or is that out? I've not seen it yet. Like,
that should be, if not this year, next year.
mm,
Uh,
yeah, the show's not
looking forward
bad.
to
The
that
show's
one.
not bad. I like that concept. Yeah, the concepts seem to be very sick, man. If it's dope, I'm here. Attack on Titan, just the second part of the finale, bro. These people are stretching out the budget to make money. It's just like I'm
No,
killing
no.
people with the weight.
For attack. Oh, wait. What do you mean stretching out?
Attack on Titan, like just part for season finale, uh, another finale, part one of that finale, part two of that
Oh, okay.
finale.
Yeah.
It's just, bro,
It's like
put me
final
out of my
Attack on
misery.
Titan, the final season,
The final
part
season.
4, chapter 1, saga
I'm
2.
here, bro, but I am here,
The
here
last
for it.
one's gonna be, it's gonna be the finale, though,
Is it?
completely.
Is it Christian?
Yep. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like an hour. So.
It better be. I'm here for it. It better be. It better be. One thing they did well in this episode that I thought they did well, they showed you the pain that a woman was feeling, like it was drawn in a very distinctive way. Like when she's in there crying about the loss of her child, like her face is pale. In Anor and Thorfinn, they look similar, but she looked completely like white, like she's troubled because it's taking her back to that day losing her kid, and we heard how she was screaming the name when the girl that Sverkel gave away, like it was fucking like his, at the wedding day. Did you see her face walking with the guy on the wedding day? Like she's traumatized.
Yeah.
Just they
Yeah.
capture these fucking beautifully, man. Ugh, just it's. I mean, as a guy, fucking like you're like, damn, this is an anime, but like, shit like that still happened, bro. Like it's like arranged marriage is still a thing in the Middle East, just like different regions and just of the world. It's crazy shit, man. But yeah, to on a positive light, I like that that was done beautifully. Like I was like, wow, like you're able to like the pain, the suffering is palpable in these women's faces, and it's just beautifully done.
hmm Yeah. I love the art style of Vinland Saga. So good.
Mm.
So good.
Mm.
But yeah. So that is the end of episode 14. And yeah, we will see you for episode 15.
Will we? Will we, Christian? Will we?
Yeah, we probably won't. If anyone's listening to this, doubt that they're gonna be like, "Oh man, I wonder what they have to say about episode 15." Like, no, no they don't.
No, they don't. Bro, this was an hour. Jesus. Well, this is before
Yeah.
edits and shit. This better be 20 minutes. Oh no, it won't be. But yeah, it's been real.
Yeah.
Until the next one, Rich Gang.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.